Start recording now. We are recording. Brilliant. Oh, well, we've got another 3 minutes to the official start here, so we're good. Now, that's a nice color scheme. I like it.
Yeah, I started to use the Google Docs presentations for short stuff. I still like PowerPoint or Keynote for more complicated things, but I mean this is so easy to, it's just as easy to use by and large.
Oh, I tell you what, I can't say this in public, so no one's listening. It's good. I've trained myself to be non-techie. I have a degree in computer science and absolutely loved it. I was completely, complete geek, programming, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I discovered girls, and I thought, this is not getting me anywhere. Actually, it got me the opposite of what I wanted. I literally had girls turn around at a party. We'd be standing there chatting for 10 minutes. And then, oh, what do you do? Well, I study computer science. And literally, they turn around and walk away. And I was like, okay, got to change this thing. So I'm now artificially kept stupid when it comes to all things technical. And I'm glad I've semi-mastered PowerPoint. So unless there's a very, very good reason to hand over or go over to Google Docs, I'll just stick with PowerPoint. Evelyn Townsend is in the house. Hello, Evelyn. See, Evelyn I've seen several times before. Well, we've got another 2 minutes. 1 minute. Spring really wants to be here in Pennsylvania. Well, spring is here, finally. Our garden is going bonkers at the moment. It's all reseeded from last year. It's absolutely amazing. It's a total jungle out there. But it's beautiful. I can basically eat, all the vegetables I want from the garden. So I can just outside my office window, just go outside, grab some food. It's brilliant.
That's great. We are not at that point yet. It is still quite chilly in the evenings, and we had snow up until last week. We had very warm weather, in the 70s Fahrenheit, in the mid-20s, I guess it would be, low 20s Celsius. But then we had snow for a couple of days. But I think that's beyond us now, and spring is here in full force. But where I am in the U.S., spring means cold nights, cold mornings, relatively warm afternoons and early evenings.
Okay, so not ideal for having lettuce in your garden and
No. The rule for planting here is that you really cannot plant in any month that ends. You can only plant in months that end in R or don't have an R in them. That's what it is.
Okay.
You cannot plant in months that have an R in it. So that would account for April.
Yeah, May, June, July. Cool.
Yes, August. That's it.
Alrighty, we are on the hour, so let's go, I would say. Okay.
Sounds great. I hope folks can hear me. This is Dave Tropeano. I am the not-so-cool Dave part of Andre and Cool Dave, and I'm so happy to be invited to talk to you about FBA Fasttrack. What happened was, thanks to your questions and a couple others that we added, I have a little PowerPoint, or actually it's a Google Docs presentation that breaks the questions down into slides. So we will go through that, and then I guess as you have additional questions, feel free to ask. We only have an hour, but if we run over, that's okay by a little bit. And if there's any lingering questions that require further explanation, I will be happy to either record those or type those up to make sure that anybody's questions
Actually, Dave,
answered.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but I have another webinar starting in 1 hour, so
okay.
We need to be off this call, I would say, at about 5 minutes to the hour.
Sounds great. Sounds great. So I actually have a client call at 10, but that would be an hour from now. But I warned them that I might be a couple minutes late. So we have an hour. We need to get through. I think it's about 15 or 16 questions. Shouldn't be any problem. Then we can open it up to Q&A. And then what we'll do is, if we have to offline things, we'll make sure that everybody gets their questions answered one way or another, even if it's not live on this call.
Cool.
Alrighty, so let's get started. First question: what kind of person do you find will have success with Amazon? So I have to say this is a generic question that applies to any field of online marketing. What kind of person will have success with online marketing? If you think about this and kind of break down the components of this, there's some unique parts about Amazon, but by and large, this is the same for any online marketing field. You want somebody that can actually take action and will not get analysis paralysis, right? If you think about affiliate marketing, SEO, pay-per-click, you name it, right? You name the business model. Everyone gets stuck at the front end of the process, and they find all kinds of excuses to not get past the front end of the process. It doesn't matter if it's keyword research, it's creating ads, it's making creatives or images for banners. There's something that gets in the way. Product owners sweat too much about creating the perfect product with the perfect text in their information product or the perfect email sequence, and it's this quest for perfection and the fear of success that stops most people. So what do you need to be successful with Amazon? You need to be someone who can take action, someone who is not a perfectionist but strives towards perfection, right? You want the best business model, you want the best product funnel that you can have, but you don't want to wait for perfection. Good enough is good enough, and then you will successfully refine it over time. What's unique about Amazon is the product side. So you do have to learn a little bit about the product sourcing side of the world, how to deal with suppliers, how to get the private labeling done. Those are some specific blocking and tackling, as we'd say in the U.S. They're just things that are unique to the Amazon world. Not hard to learn. You'll have to learn to negotiate a little bit with suppliers so you get the best price. But to get started, you don't need to worry about that, right? To get started, you need to find a couple of suppliers, and you take the best price and best quantity you can get, and then you get better over time. Once you're outside of that realm, once you're outside of the how do I get my product put together, then it becomes marketing 101, right? It's all about traffic and conversion. Amazon will go to all kinds of lengths to format a page on an e-commerce store, in other words, Amazon.com or one of the Amazon operating companies. They will format that page in the way that best converts for them and for you. Amazon is the best converting e-commerce store on the planet. They've always been the best converting e-commerce store on the planet because they do incessant amounts of testing, so they know how to do their layouts to get people to buy. The conversion rate on Amazon.com for a visitor is something like 15.5%. It's outrageous. A normal e-commerce store selling wedding favors, if they can convert 1 or 1.5% of their traffic, they're rock stars, and they're building $20 million businesses. So you do need to learn about traffic and conversion. Amazon helps tremendously, but you're going to want to drive your own traffic, not just rely long-term on Amazon as a search engine. You're going to want to drive your own traffic. You're going to want to be able to convert that traffic, and what I mean by that is you're going to want to write good copy. You're going to want a good title, good images, good benefit-laden copy. Not every product just lends itself to a data sheet where you just give the height, weight, width, length, and bullet points of exactly what this is in a very technical and dry way. In fact, most products lend themselves to benefit-laden copy that really describes the value that the customer is going to get from the product. You will find your conversion goes up. But again, these are skills. Traffic and conversion are skills that all marketers need. So we need a go-getter. We need somebody who's a starter who will not get stopped by little stumbles that happen all along the way. And then you need to develop the marketing skills of being able to write basic copy and to be able to get conversions and to do a little bit of testing on that. And then you let Amazon kind of do the rest for you, which is the beauty of this model. Amazon's very good at what they do. They're always growing, it seems, and they really know how to push products out of their warehouse.
And I got to tell you, Dave, this is very, very disappointing what you've just told us. There seems to be no magic bullet. Damn! Excuse me that I'm swearing here, but no, okay, kidding aside, it is something that is kind of weird, but most people who are on my list they know this. This is what I stand for. I stand for look at a few fundamental skills. Look at some basic, if you're good at copywriting, if you know how to develop an offer that converts, then the rest will fall into place. You don't need any of the magic of the gadgets, etc., etc. And it's exactly what you just said. Look, Amazon, the conversion side is taken care of. Thank you very much. Just make sure you learn these few fundamental things. Offer a bit of copywriting to position it in the right way, understanding your market, and they're all like you said, marketing 101. So it's very disappointing. It would have been so nice to hear, FBA is all about, the magic bullet, but it seems like, fundamentals win again.
Yeah, absolutely. There is just no magic pixie dust that makes this so incredible that you don't have to do any work, and there really never has been. At any point in time, there will be a traffic or a ranking trick that you can use, and I have nothing against those, as long as you walk into it knowing that there are little tricks, there are little tactics. It's not a strategy; it's a tactic that you can use to get some short-term profit. You milk the cow, so to speak. You get some short-term profit with the little tool of the day, the magic tool of the day, the magic ranking, the magic traffic tool of the day, but you don't base your world on that. And, quick story, I was involved in affiliate marketing, and this kind of ties in with this next question, but I was involved in affiliate marketing before Google came out with AdSense, so 2002, 2003. And, the affiliate marketing world back then was very focused on mini sites and pre-sell. So what you did was you built a 5-page review site, basically. That's what we would call a review site today, and you pre-sold whatever it was, the guitar, how to play guitar product, how to make your Parrot Talk product, what have you. And you would pre-sell that, and it was a very simple model, and you had to have good fundamentals. Then Google comes out with AdSense. And AdSense basically promises that you don't have to know copy and you don't have to know anything about conversion. All you need to do is put this little snippet of code on a web page, and Google will put ads up for you. And when people click on those ads, you're going to get a percentage of it. And all of the black hats in the world came out with very interesting and good tools. I mean, they worked, that automatically generated websites from you. They scraped the rest of the web, and they generated websites for you. And these tools worked, and I've been in sweat rooms, in back offices of Chinese restaurants where you open the door and smoke wafts out at you from all of these different workers, probably illegal aliens in the United States. All of these workers smoking in front of terminals, building hundreds, if not thousands, of websites a day based on junk crap content. And again, this stuff worked, and I know people that bought boats and houses from this. And then it all crashes. And it always crashes because you're constantly at a war with the search engines, with the advertising companies, with the e-commerce vendors. And if you push the envelope too far, and if you go chasing after the golden ring and these little trick magic pixie dust tools and stuff, eventually that dries out. Eventually that falls down. And if that's what your business is based on, you're basing your business on sand, and you will get slapped and you will lose everything. So fundamentals are key. Understanding the basics of copy and conversion is key. And if you want to dabble a little bit in some more aggressive tactics and some tricks of the day, go for it. Just don't base all of your income and all of your livelihood on that.
So I guess then a quick question, and really, let's keep this super short because it's just giving me an idea. Is to what extent do you cover things like copy and conversion, copywriting in your course? Is it covered at all?
Yes, it is. It is. So in FBA Fasttrack, we do talk about the importance of what I'll call the on-page factors of an Amazon listing. Right? How do you create a good title? What is a good set of images? What does the copy look like to create a compelling Amazon product description? So we do cover the basics of copy in the course, in the Beyond Amazon kind of follow-up material, the next 3 hours of content, so to speak. We do cover that also a little bit. Okay. So we do talk about, it's not a copywriting course, obviously, but we go through the highlights of what you want to do, and we show some examples of what you want to do.
Okay, excellent.
And so in that sense, FBA, the Amazon Fulfilled by Amazon program, is no different, right, than being an affiliate or running your own e-commerce store or having your own information product, right? You need to be able to create compelling images. You need to be able to work a little bit on traffic, and you need to be able to write copy that gets a click. Right? That's what it's all about. You want your copy to create an action. Now, what's different is when you're an affiliate, you're pre-selling, which is different than selling. Pre-selling is just trying to set the mode, set the mood for the visitor, and then selling is different. In selling, you have to give them the facts, and you have to give them the benefits that they're going to get in a way that you get them to buy directly. Being an affiliate is a little bit different, but you still have this notion of traffic. have to generate traffic. Like I said, with Amazon, especially in some categories, some product categories, you can rely on Amazon doing it for you for quite a long time. But in others, you want to be a little bit more aggressive, and it's always good to be in control of your own traffic a bit. Running an e-commerce store, the difference there is just in the numbers. Amazon converts a lot better than your own e-commerce store ever will, unless you're a big branded corporation. A typical e-commerce store, if they converted a 0.5% to 1%, you're doing great. If you convert more than 1%, 1 or 2%, you're a flipping rock star. Amazon converts much, much higher than that across the whole store, just because they have such a good reputation and they have such a big business. So when you're running your own e-commerce store, the benefit of that, and we cover this in the course, we actually spend quite a bit of time on how and why you might want to extend beyond Amazon and open up your own e-commerce store. So we talk about, how do you do that? How do you create your own e-commerce store? What are the pros and cons of that? And then what's the big benefit? The big benefit is control. Even though overall your conversion rate might be less, you have a lot more control for testing. You have a lot more control for traffic and conversion. Right? You can't play with the layout on Amazon. Right? Amazon controls that layout. They test it. They do their best they can. You have complete control in your own e-commerce store of your layout. You have complete control of how you want to do fulfillment. You can add split testing to that, multivariate testing, etc. So a lot of times, we recommend that people have both an e-commerce store and they use FBA long term. The value being that they can use their e-commerce store to do some aggressive testing that you can't easily do on Amazon. And then if you find copy differences or layout differences or image differences, you can sometimes translate those back onto your Amazon pages and reap the benefit from that.
Okay, cool.
Information products, again, information products, you're focused on content, whether you write the content or record the content or you have an expert. It is a little different, obviously, in the sense that you're a content producer with an info product, but the marketing side of it is basically the same. The only difference there is long-form sales letters, right? There are no long-form sales letters unless you're Jeff Bezos at Amazon. There are no long-form sales letters on an Amazon store, right? So you are writing short-form catalog copy, and that is a different form of copywriting. Absolutely, it's a different form of copywriting. It's more punchy. It's shorter. It's more similar to squeeze pages, or one page kind of squeezes on an affiliate promotion. So that side's a little bit different, but the basic skills are again, it all comes down to the same stuff. The basic skills are the same, and other than dealing with shipping products to an Amazon warehouse, it's by and large very similar marketing skills.
Cool.
All right, what kind of background is useful? I think we covered this. The more of a background you have in marketing, or your willingness to learn a little bit about copy, learn a little bit about what makes a good image versus a bad image, learn a little bit about conversion testing, the better you're going to be.
All right, I tell you what, full disclosure, this is my question. I put that in there. And the background to the background question is simply this. When I got started online, I was fed up with my corporate job. And that was my main motivation. It's like, frig, I'm not really doing anything useful here. I'm not contributing to, the betterment of the world. We're just here making money. This is not fulfilling. And I kind of left it and then went into, marketing, that kind of stuff. And it was a steep learning curve. And fortunately, in my corporate job, I had a research function, but it was combined with marketing. Basically, we had to actually find out what our customers really wanted. And that proved to be quite useful. And therefore, my background question is this. If someone is just sitting there going, oh, holy smokes, I've had enough of this day-to-day thing. I'm just wasting half my life sitting in traffic jams to and from the office. Or I hate my boss, all that kind of thing. But if they're not actually doing anything marketing-wise, and now thinking about it, you've just answered the question, yes. The more you have an interest in marketing, I guess, the more, the quicker you will get up and running.
Yeah, absolutely. The more your willingness to treat this as a business and know that your job is to sell, the better it's going to be. And I'll share something. The best marketers, especially the best e-commerce owners, I'll limit this to e-commerce owners. The best e-commerce owners I know have never been to the Warrior Forum do not know anything about internet marketing. They know how to sell leather jackets, wedding favors, dresses, candy bar chocolate wrappers, or chocolate candy bar wrappers that are customized. They know how to sell gray salt versus Himalayan sea salt. They don't know anything about the Warrior Forum. They don't know anything about SEO. They don't know anything about the 3,267 product launches that we seem to have in our little industry. And because of that, they don't burn out on all these internet marketing scams. The only thing they're focused on is how do I get my products from the supplier or my own warehouse, and then how do I ship it to somebody else's warehouse so they can fulfill it for me. And that's what they focus their world on. So they know how to negotiate deals. They know how to warehouse things if they're holding their own inventory. With FBA, you don't have to hold your own inventory, which is awesome. But they worry about running a small business like a small business. They're not consumed about this WSO of the day. What shiny object is there for me to get? Their conversations in their minds are: do I buy Infusionsoft because I have enough customers, or do I stick with Aweber?
And I tell you what, this is really powerful, because most people will have come through to this webinar here today because they read the story of Mark B. All right, real story, real friend of mine, and what you just said totally resonated with me, because in his mind there's one question he never asks, and that is, oh, surely this stuff is not going to work. Surely they're not going to buy this. Surely they're not. He doesn't know that question. He just goes and all right, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. And as a result, he gets traction so quickly, as opposed to just overcomplicating things and going. And that is I think the entire audience you just talked about, anyone who's hanging out on the Warrior Forum too much, they have that things like, is this really going to work? I wonder if I'm going to add these 3 extra things, then it might just work, and they never actually go and test it. Whereas Mark just goes out, right, this one here doesn't give me the conversions I want. What else can I do? And the one question he does not ask is like, surely it's not going to work. Alrighty, let's move on.
What kind of resources are essential? How do you speed up progress? So you need to find a product that you think will work, right? So this first phase, a crawl, walk, run, that's what we talk about with FBA Fasttrack. The resources you're going to need a little bit of money. So ignoring the cost of the course, right? You're going to need a little bit of money to be able to source, buy some products, get it private labeled. An initial quantity could be 10 or 20, could be 100. But you're going to need some money to be able to source those products, and some products are cheap and some products are expensive. So whatever the niche that you're looking at, the product type you're going after, you're going to need enough money to buy some initial quantity to be able to do that. And you're going to need some time to be able to create the product listing, and then either write some articles or make a video or write a press release. Now you can pay somebody to do that, right? You can go anywhere from Fiverr to hiring a firm to do that for you, or you can do it yourself. So you're going to trade some time and money off for that. And that will get you a trickle of traffic and get you started. Now, if you want to, so what did we talk about? You're going to be able to source your product. You're going to need to have an evaluation criteria. You're going to have to kind of find the rules for what's a good product for private labeling versus one that's a little bit more challenging with more competition, etc. And we go through all of that for you. You're going to want to think about your business structure. Do you want to have an incorporation? You want to run this just under your own name? And that's a long-term decision. You don't need to make that decision on the first day, but it's something you're going to need to figure out in the back of your mind. If you're operating from a non-United States country, so I'm going to assume that you're selling on Amazon.com. Amazon requires you to have a bank account either in the U.S. or one of their partner countries. Partner countries are most of the European Union and Canada. I say most because it's not every EU country, but most of the European Union and Canada. Now, if you don't have a bank account in the United States or one of those countries, we go through how to get one. And we go through how to get one in a very inexpensive way, and then we kind of scale it up to say, well, maybe your business is large enough that you want to operate and you want to have a business entity in that country, and here's how you do it. Here's some pointers to how to get that done. So you need a little bit of money to get started up, and you need 2 to 4 to 5 weeks of time to kind of get a trickle of traffic, to start to get some initial conversions, to give away some products to friends, family, on promotions on Facebook, however so that you can get some initial reviews and get some initial momentum. That's kind of the basic approach. Now you want to speed it up. How do you speed it up? You speed it up by buying traffic. It's literally that simple. You speed up your progress by, well, a couple things, but the main one is you speed up your progress by buying traffic. You speed up your progress by buying traffic, improving the traffic conversion, the clicks, right? Can I make an ad that gets a click, that gets them to the page? And you buy your traffic, you buy your visitors, that speeds up your conversion, that's going to give you more reviews. And there's ways you can grease the groove here, and there's specific tactics and strategies, but the basic answer is you get more traffic, you speed up your progress.
Dave, just a quick comment here from Evelyn. She says the thing about the partner countries is huge for her. Thanks for that. Could never get a clear answer on that.
Yeah, no problem. And I actually just learned during this relaunch that Amazon added Canada. I'm a little provincial, right? I'm from the United States. I deal with Amazon.com, and I have dealt in the past with some of the Amazon Co. UK company and Canada, but mainly I'm focused on Amazon.com. So I don't always pay attention to the out-of-country, the foreign seller requirements. I just learned that Amazon now accepts Canadian bank accounts. They didn't before. The rule before was that Amazon only accepted bank accounts that worked with the ACH bank transfer protocol. The way that you do a bank wire transfer from bank to bank is called ACH, at least in the United States. And Amazon says, well, you either have to have a bank that accepts ACH or we're not going to work with you. Well, now they've expanded to Canada, which isn't quite ACH, it's some other system, but it works now, and some other countries. So Amazon, they want to grow their business, so they're expanding the number of banks that they work with, which I think is awesome.
And Evelyn is Canadian, so she's happy.
That's very good. Very, very good. So you can do some things to speed up your progress. The main one is buying traffic. There's some other things you can do around finding a product that fits, as opposed to saying I make baskets for lesbian Jewish mermaids and insisting that you have to sell those baskets on Amazon. That will really slow you down, right? If you're so fixed in I have to sell my product, that could slow you down because your product may not lend itself to being able to be sold on Amazon. So you have to do the evaluation criteria in an honest and direct fashion. And if it doesn't fit, again, your goal is to market and sell. It's not in a model like this, right? It's not that you're so fixed on it has to be this one product. Because the reality is it doesn't have to be this one product. It has to be something that fits and sells on Amazon. Okay, is FBA something for bootstrapping, or better to get a lump of capital and throw it at the problem? I think all things being equal, it's always better to have capital.
Okay.
That said, you can bootstrap yourself, right? You absolutely can bootstrap yourself with that few $100s after the cost of the course to buy some initial quantity of product, ship it to an FBA warehouse, and then get that trickle of traffic and build that up over time. But the more capital that you have, within reason, right? I don't want you going out and buying 1,000 widgets and then shipping that to an FBA warehouse, because you're not going to sell 1,000 right away, right? It's better to run out of inventory right away. It's better to run out of inventory and then have to do a reorder, even if that reorder takes 3 weeks, let's just say. Hopefully it doesn't, but I mean, I've heard that happen. I've seen that happen. It's better to have that situation because at least you can sell, and now you just need to get the inventory replenished. So having a lump of capital is a better thing, but that doesn't mean you're going to go off hog wild and buy 1,000 units and ship it to an Amazon warehouse. You're still going to buy 10, 20, 50 units, ship it to a warehouse, get your stock low, and then replenish that and then scale that up over time. But if you have the capital already in place, you're going to be able to buy traffic. You're going to be able to run coupon deals. You're not going to worry about losing money on the initial set of inventory. Right, because you're not going to be focused on the immediate profit. You're going to want to build the business long term. So having the lump of capital is always better. That said, you absolutely can bootstrap this. You can't do it at $0 because you have to source products,
sure.
But you can absolutely bootstrap this.
The reason that, or the thinking behind this question is quite simply this: in the 2000s, when the big .com booble bubble was going on, everyone was throwing money left, right, and center. I was involved in quite a few startups, and they fell basically always into 2 categories: the bootstrappers and the ones who went, I'll give away 90% of my equity in exchange for a huge lump of money, and then I hire great staff, and we get this up and running. And now, 10, 11, 12, well now it's almost 14 years later, without fail, the bootstrappers are still bootstrapping, and those who gave up huge amounts of equity are filthy rich. So without fail. That's why I asked that question.
No, it's a great question, and having the capital works. There's no doubt about it, and you can't overspend. But having the money available is always a faster path than bootstrapping. It's hard to bootstrap. You can make both work. Bootstrapping will obviously take longer, but having the lump capital up front is much easier, much easier. I love this question, and I only have 3 kids, but it's exactly the same issue. How important is it to delegate and outsource? How much volume can you realistically do yourself, your spouse, and your garage full of stuff while your 4 kids are running wild in the neighborhood? Well, I certainly don't want anybody's children running wild in the neighborhood. You can't do that in the United States anymore. It's frowned upon. It was perfectly fine when I was a child, but nowadays we're so overprotective as parents. And myself included, I can fall into this trap. And we're always worried if you're not in eyesight right away. I think this is a great question for this. First, there's no garage full of stuff. The whole idea of FBA is you're letting Amazon do all the fulfillment. So you don't have product coming into your garage or into your warehouse. You don't have a garage and warehouse. You have, some Amazon center they tell you to ship product to. And you may, there are some business reasons why you may want your supplier to send the product to you, especially the limited quantity. Like that initial quantity, you may want to do a quality control check, right? Have them send it to you. You look at your 10 or 20 pieces to make sure they look the way you want. You put packing tape over the box again, and you ship that to Amazon. You're going to pay a little bit more for that, a little bit more money, but it's worth it. For the quality control, it's worth it. But that's not a garage full of stuff. My sister-in-law has home parties. In the United States, we have all these home parties where wives and women get together and they drink some wine and have some cheese and they sell each other jewelry and handbags and stuff like that. It's a massive business. And my sister-in-law is massively successful. She's some platinum district sales manager, trainer, grand poobah of this stuff. Makes a 6-figure income doing these home parties throughout the eastern part of the United States. And she has a garage full of stuff. She has half a basement dedicated to the products that she is selling. She has to keep all of her own inventory, all of her own costs. With Amazon FBA, you have none of that. You find a supplier, you find a private labeler, you can have somebody else put everything together for you, or your supplier does it. They ship it right to Amazon in the appropriate way. You don't maintain any inventory. So because of that, it's very easy to operate this business while your kids are running wild in the neighborhood, or they're playing baseball, basketball, cricket, soccer, or what you would call football, soccer, what have you. So that's great. Can you delegate this business? Absolutely. You can delegate your customer support to the extent that you get pre-sale questions. On Amazon.com, people can ask you questions. You can delegate your customer support. You're delegating your fulfillment to Amazon. You are delegating, or you could delegate, your graphics, your image creation, your pictures. You're finding suppliers, so you're not really doing that. The only thing you need to do is watch your inventory levels at Amazon and reorder your products. That's the main thing you need to do. And then you're going to want to tweak your copy every now and again, right? You're going to want to test different titles, different descriptions, what have you. So you can absolutely run this business at a reasonable volume and scale. Right? You can run a 6-figure business. You can run a 7-figure business with yourself and an assistant with no problem. And you can, quite honestly, you can run it just with yourself. And again, it a little bit depends on the niche. If you're in some more active, competitive niches, I mean, I can tell you this in the health and wellness area, and especially supplements, there's kind of cutthroat competition. So I have to pay attention to things quite a bit more than I do in household kitchen supplies, where there's not as much competition, but you still get quite a bit, but it's not as bad. But volume-wise, you can do just fine with it. Your spouse and yourself. You don't have a garage that you have to worry about. You can spend plenty of time with the kids. This is a lifestyle business, and it's a good one. There is care and feeding necessary, right? Traffic generation, copy, etc. But by and large, it's nothing that 2 people can't do. And honestly, even getting up to that 6-figure business, 1 person can do it.
Alrighty, cool.
Very few times.
Got a question here from Carol, and she says, can
Yep.
alerts be set up when your inventory reaches a certain amount? So basically what's involved in watching your inventory?
What's involved is opening up your email when Amazon sends you an email and says, based on your sales volume, your inventory is starting to run low. You might want to think about replenishing it.
Okay,
They
cool.
literally tell you.
Dave,
They literally tell you.
we are half an hour in, and so we've got about 25 minutes left. So I think we need to speed up a little bit, right?
Will do.
Okay.
Will do. So yeah, on the inventory, Amazon tells you they don't know how long it takes for you to fulfill your products. So, if you have a 3-week lead time to fulfill your product, you might not want to wait for Amazon to tell you you have 10 days left. 10 days left of inventory. So you're going to have to pay attention to that. But you'll learn that over time, right? You'll learn that through one or two or three product orders. You're going to figure out what your lead time is. And I only work with products that kind of fit the Amazon models. When they tell me I have 10 days left, I order my products and they're there. And I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, how easy is it to get initial success and then build momentum? It is easy. This is not a high frustration business. You will get initial success. You can build momentum either kind of the trickle approach or the traffic buying approach. Both work. So it's pretty simple to do that. Now, where your frustration will hit is trying to go from 10,000 a month to 15,000 a month, or trying to go from 25,000 to 100,000. There's going to be some tipping points where that product, either because of competition or just the marketplace, or Amazon playing with their ranking algorithm, you can't quite seem to get to onto the first page. You're doing great on the second page of the Amazon listings, but you can't quite get your sales rank up there. That's going to be frustrating, and that's when you pick up the phone and you call me or you call somebody else that's been doing this, and we brainstorm some ideas for breaking the back of Amazon to get you over the hump. And sometimes you can't get over the hump, so you have to accept that this business with this product is at this level, so maybe I need to get another product, or I need to be happy where I am and move on to another niche. So pretty frustration-free business, but you do hit tipping points and growing, kind of getting into the top 10, getting into the top 1,000, but definitely doable. You can deal with it. We have known strategies. Lots of people out there have known strategies for kind of growing that and sustaining momentum. And then, you just take a realistic look about, can I really sell so many of these products that I want? And if not, I add products to my inventory. I add products to my catalog, so to speak. What percentage success rate would you say is possible out of 10 product trials? Is there a fail-safe checklist? Great question. We do have a checklist. We have an evaluation criteria that helps minimize the risk of finding a product that can't be sold effectively on Amazon. Is it fail-safe? No, I don't believe in anything that's fail-safe. But is it good? Yeah, absolutely it's good. In fact, every FBA type seller, every e-commerce dropship seller that I know uses a similar checklist. So there's no magic here. There's no magic pixie dust. We're all basically doing the same thing in how we evaluate the dropship or the private label potential of a product. It's not fail-safe, but it's pretty darn good. What's your success rate out of 10 product trials? I can't answer that for you, and the reason is the success rate. One, I don't know what success means, right? Is success $1 more than your cost, or is success $10,000 more than your cost? I know some people that will only sell a product consistently if they make 100% margin. So if the cost of the product is $1, and then they have to pay Amazon $1 to do all the labeling and the shipping and everything else, they have $2 in, they will only sell the product for $4 or more so they can make at least 100% markup. I know other people that are happy with 40 or 60 or 70% margin. So everybody's definition of success is different. And then the other thing is how many work out of 10? I like to tell people that do paid advertising that if you get 1 out of 6 ad campaigns that are successful, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. Here it's a little bit different, and it's hard to tell because it depends on the niche, and it depends on kind of how good you are at executing the techniques. If you follow the plan, if you execute the trickle of traffic or the traffic buying approach, your success rate as will you get your money back and not lose your shirt is very high, very, very high. You won't have to go through 10 product trials. But there's always those cases where something's a lot more competitive than you thought. A lot of people may be entering the market at the same time very aggressively, and you don't have the same capital that they have. So things can happen. Generally, though, we minimize that risk. We minimize that risk very much, and most folks can get initial success. They can get profitable, usually within their first 1 or 2 or tops 3 product trials, and they can at least get all of their money back. And they learn through that process now what it's going to take to be much better.
I can't believe you left that in there.
Well, that's because I didn't know what FFX was, and I forgot to ask you this morning.
For something's sakes.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, this is good. So, will my products work? No. Abandon all hope, give up, go work at McDonald's or pick fast food restaurant in your country and stop bothering me about this. I have no idea if your product's going to work. Here's the thing I do know. If you follow the evaluation criteria, you have a much better chance than if you're trying to sell your own niche product that you already have to a tiny, tiny market that doesn't ever shop on Amazon.com. I always joke about, selling wicker baskets to lesbian Jewish mermaids. That's a really hard business. I don't know anybody that's successful in that business. But I see people all the time that already have their product picked, right? They're already down their niche world, and they already have their product picked, and they have their heart set on selling this thing. God love them. They have a passion. They're a crafter. They're, some kind of product expert. They already have it picked. But nobody cares. If nobody cares, any form of advertising, right? Step 0, can you get a click? Can you define a marketplace? If you can't validate that there are people out there that give a shit, forgive my language, if you can't validate that there's a market out there that care, then your product doesn't sell. So will my products work? I don't know. What I do know is that if you follow the evaluation criteria, you have a much better chance of being successful.
Let me put it this way, Dave, and this is something that's been on my mind for many years now. It's something you need to get, not at an intellectual level, but actually get. You need to get that you need to sell people what they want. And if your thing is something you're excited about but no one wants it, it's going to be an uphill struggle all the way. So, but like you said earlier, you need to go in and try this out. And, by all means, take one product you are absolutely in love with and stick it out there and, run through Dave's checklist. And if it turns out it doesn't work, then you will have the experience and you'll suddenly go, now I get it. People don't want this thing, which is a shame. It's a real shame because I know they would, get a lot out of it if only they loved it. But the problem is they don't love it. So now I get it, and now I can take the checklist and, sell people what it is they want. Alrighty, cool,
yep,
next.
Absolutely. And, and I will say here, let me go back. There's a corollary to this. Just because I can sell something doesn't mean you can sell something, right? So this is all about, can you get people to click? And it's not the generic you, it's the specific you. If you want to sell a supplement product, let's say you're a chiropractor, or you're a doctor, or you're a medical professional, and you know that this specific supplement blend or this protein powder with additives is the greatest thing in the world, but you can't market it, right? You don't have the ability to market. You're not locked into the minds, the fears, the passions, the problems of an audience. If you can't figure out how to get them to click, it doesn't matter if somebody else can figure that out. I mean, maybe you want to partner with them. That would be a smart thing to do. But it's all about your ability. It doesn't matter what niche is hot and what niche is not hot. Right? It doesn't matter. It's what you can do. If you can figure out that audience, you will be successful. And you may be the only person in the world that's successful because you have unique knowledge. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if somebody else can sell supplements or somebody else can sell, silicone baking pans or somebody else can sell fog-proof shower mirrors. Can you sell it? Can you figure out the hook that someone will actually click on? That's what counts. All right. I live in Kenya, East Africa, and I need to know how to get started, especially with the conditionalities. I need something like FBA Fasttrack for Dummies. Well, we don't have FBA Fasttrack for Dummies, but we do have FBA Fasttrack, and we do cover international selling. I have to say I'm amazed at how many, this kind of question comes up all the time. I think this is awesome to see internet marketing spread worldwide. Amazon does a great job telling international sellers, right? I'm going to assume you want to sell on Amazon.com. Amazon does a great job telling international sellers what they need to be worried about. They take you through an interview when you sign up. You have to fill out some U.S. tax forms, which, by the way, are not a bad thing. You're filling out those tax forms so that you can be exempt from U.S. taxes in many cases. So you actually save money by filing the paperwork. It's a good deal. And they bend over backwards because they want people selling from everywhere in the world. Right? They want your money. They want your business. So you can definitely do this from Kenya. You can definitely do this from other countries. And Amazon will do everything that they can to help you understand, exactly what you need to fill out. Like I said, you need a bank account that works with the ACH or one of the compatible systems. We show you how to do that. We show you how to go through that. And then we point you to the Amazon places for the details, the tax details, etc. We're not lawyers, we're not attorneys, we're not tax professionals. You want to consult somebody in your own country, but Amazon gives you all kinds of information in a pretty consumable fashion, pretty good fashion to get you through that. All right, best method for product selection, best method for finding good China sourcing besides just searching Alibaba. Well, best method for product selection, beaten to death, is to follow the evaluation criteria. That's the best method. So we have an evaluation criteria, and we highly recommend that you follow that. And you may want to deviate a little bit. Feel free to contact me and tell me why you want to deviate a little bit, and I'll give you an honest opinion. We'll talk about it, and life will be good. So that's the best method for product selection. Pretty simple. The best method for finding good China sourcing is to not get in love with sourcing from China from day one. And to me, this is kind of 50-50, right? Because my wife and her business partner violated this rule. The first thing they did was they went out and found China sourcing partners. They ignored anything I said about, no, go local, make it easy on yourself. No, they didn't care. What the hell? They went off and built this jewelry business from scratch. That's killing it. They're going to do 7 figures this year, I think. Looks like, and they've only been in business for a little bit more than a year. Not even, well, maybe 13 months. They're doing this rock and jewelry business. They went to China from day one. They made all kinds of mistakes, but they didn't care. They figured it out. My wife tells me all the time, I still don't understand all this internet marketing stuff. Why would anybody buy anything from you? I don't get it. She never got it. She's never gotten e-commerce. And now that she has her own online business with her business partner, she still tells me she doesn't get it, but magically she just does the right stuff. She keeps working at it. She figures it out. She does the right stuff. So don't be in love with China. Next, eventually you will be in love with China. If it's not China, it's going to be Vietnam. If it's not Vietnam, it's going to be Malaysia. If it's not Malaysia, it's going to be some low labor market manufacturing country. And we do go through how you can source without Alibaba. And in fact, this is, I think, one of the unique benefits of our course. It's not a full import-export course. FBA Fasttrack is not a full export-import course, but we give you some secret sauce, so to speak, around how to go past Alibaba, what you really want to do to source products efficiently and effectively. And none of the commodity courses that are out there talk about this. So that's one thing that I'm kind of proud of. Now, I will say again, there's no magic pill here. What we teach is what every good drop shipper and e-commerce store vendor has known for years and years and years about how to do this. And it's not getting on Alibaba and talking with people on instant messaging. There's a place for that, but you need to go past that. Other than changing the label, how can you have your product made differently than the way the manufacturer is already making it? Great question, great question. Basic answer is use the stuff that's in between the 2 ears that you have on your head. You have to use your brain, right? So you have to think about it. What could you do differently? Maybe you could do, so we assume you're going to stick a label on it, right? Maybe you could do a bundle. You can put that product with another similar product, and you make the supplier or a third party bundle it together with another thing. So you're selling 2 or 3 things together. You're selling that at a unique quantity. Maybe you could do so you can do an add-on or a bundle. Maybe you can do a different color. Maybe you can do a different manufacturing process or some kind of customization. It could be color. It could be embossing. It could be raw materials that are used. So if you're selling a supplement, maybe you want to go to the supplement provider, supplement manufacturer, and you want to ask them to change the formulation slightly. Slightly, not big, slightly, to use an all-natural product or to remove an artificial sweetener and use a natural sweetener. That's kind of a big one these days in some marketplaces. Obviously, there'll be a little bit of cost associated with that, but it's a cost-benefit, right? You always risk and reward. You weigh those off. So there's a bunch of ways to have your product made differently. Color, variation in size, variation in shape, bundling, slight change in formulation or manufacturing process. All of those work. And I'll tell you the other thing. Why even worry about this? You don't even need to worry about this. Here's a little secret. Take better pictures. What everybody else does, right? What everybody else does is they do use the stock pictures that the manufacturer gave them. And typically these look like iStock photo pictures. They're beautiful, but they're clearly fake. So what you can do is you can take pictures that are in the scene. Show the product being used. Show someone happy, receiving joy, or solving a problem from using the product. If your images are better than someone else's images, even if you're private labeling the same product, you win. Good copy, good images wins. But then also you can change what goes in the box. Right? You can change the color. You can add a writer product on top of that. You can change the formulation. You can tweak things a little bit. But the main thing here is don't try to do that. Just have better images and better copy. That's the easy stuff. And that keeps your costs down. And guess what? We have 12 minutes left and we're done.
Yay!
Well, you feel free to ask questions. But what I do want to say here is we have a special super secret link. Not really super secret. Here it is. So we have set up a special link just for this webinar that you can use to get and learn more about FBA Fasttrack. I think there's 182 comments, some ungodly number, on the sales page right now. I don't expect anybody to read that from top to bottom, but I've heard from a number of people that if they just hit search on their web browser, they're now searching for terms and finding answers to stuff. So it's actually gotten to be like its own Wikipedia page. It's so flippin' big, and we answer so many questions on there that you'll get all kinds of value just going through the Q&A that we're doing on the sales page itself.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I looked at, and that's also what I sent out in the invitation to this webinar. Please go up there. It's it's like a resource now. It's no longer questions. And the one thing comes through in every single question is like, we're not trying to push this on you. The whole purpose of this call here was to help you figure out, is this a model that fits your lifestyle, fits your background, fits your targets, your objectives. And if it is, cool. Yeah, you've got all the answers. So fantastic questions here. And in a minute we can open up for another 5 minutes if anyone else has questions. But there are so many questions on FBA Fasttrack. Go and have a look. I mean, it really is an enormous opportunity, and you need to decide whether it's for you. And the beautiful approach. I mean, I sent out an email yesterday, which was actually a link to your email where you talked about what about the startup cost required, which I think is a big one for many people, and realistically, how much do you need? And it's worth reading just that email, because not only will you see what is really realistically required to get started, and really realistically what you can expect to get out of it, but also you'll see over and over again, both Andre and Dave, there's no pushing you like, go get this, got this, massive bonuses, I'll hit you over the head, scarcity. None of that. It'll be right for some people, and if so, awesome. We'd love to have you on board. Well, Dave would have to love you on board. And if it's not for you, that is totally cool. So, what questions do we have? We've got about 4 minutes now.
I don't see any questions in that little chat box.
I can see them. So if my product is sold by others on Amazon, Carol asks, how do I get mine to be the one that shows up first?
Step Step one, don't get yourself into that situation. Right? So what we sell and teach inside of FBA Fasttrack is all around avoiding that exact model. Right? So the problem for folks that don't realize this, so if you're selling a Canon EOS 5000 camera, Amazon has one product listing for the Canon EOS 5000D camera. So you are one of 100 different sellers, 300 different sellers, and in fact, so you're one of all of those sellers. So the problem is, I was going to go to Amazon. We don't have enough time. The problem is, how do you get yourself to be listed number one? You have no control over that. Amazon will cut a deal with certain vendors. They're gonna obviously favor the ones that have the most sales volume, and that may not be your little camera store. So what we teach is avoid that. Private label the product, so you are the only person offering that specific product. It is branded to you, and in Amazon speak, what we say is this cool term: you own the buy box. In other words, there's nobody else selling it. It's sold by you and fulfilled by Amazon. You totally control the buy box. There is no competition for that exact product. Lots of people may be selling cameras, but your specific camera no one else has. That's the way to avoid it. Otherwise, you are in a cutthroat competition that is mainly driven by price. And that's not a fun business to be in typically, especially if you're a small merchant.
Alrighty.
Next.
Any final questions? No. Seems we've answered them all. Fantastic.
Sounds great.
Well, Dave, that was absolutely
everyone.
fabulous. Really, really good stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have it transcribed and stick it up on the website, if that's okay
Sounds
with you.
great. And I will, absolutely good with me, and I'll make sure you have a copy of the slides.
Fabulous. Sounds great. Alrighty, everyone. Thank you very much. And of course, we all know we shouldn't be saying everyone because I am talking to you and not everyone. But there you go. So thank you very much for attending. Thanks for the questions. Really useful. And if you want to go and, if you decide FBA Fasttrack is for you, then of course I'd appreciate it if you could go through this link, fbafasttrack.com/fight. But you don't have to. You can go just to clear your cookies and go to fbafasttrack.com if you want to give all your money to Dave, which is cool too. Alrighty.
Vite, thank you very much. Everyone that made it to the call or might be listening to this in a recording later, take care. And work hard at your business, hustle. And if this works for you, that's awesome. And if it doesn't, we can still be friends. Life moves on. But put your mind into it, and we'd love to have you on board. I think you'll find it's a great community where we do our best to make everyone as successful as they can be.
Alrighty. Thank you, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye then.
Take care, Mike. Bye-bye.
Alrighty, I now somehow need to